Kanye West can have his own playlist on my channel with the shit that he's done that's related to finances. I'm talking about everything from breach of contract to lawsuits to divorce. It's getting real ridiculous. I literally had a video done, but every day that I didn't release the video, some new shit happened that was just confusing and crazy. So I said, you know what? I need to go live so we can talk about this. I'm Marcus. You're the channel, The Debt Free Dad, where we're talking finances, financial takes, financial topics, letting y'all know where we are over in the household of the Debt Free Dad as we are on our road to financial freedom, become first generation millionaires. But the fun part is, hey, we also do attorney reaction videos over here where we dive in and talk about things that are current events that have a financial impact. And Mr. West, Yeezy, has made it today. Do I got my prop? Okay, I wanted to make sure I got my prop. I got a Yeezy shoe around here somewhere. But we're going to talk about it today. I'm going to have the homie on, a young entrepreneur by the name of Mar. You can check him out on YouTube at Raising the Financial Bar with Mar. I'll put the link in the description box to his channel and all his social media content. So, hey, if you're an entrepreneur and you're interested in programs that the government has, whether it's grants or loans to help entrepreneurs, to do it the right way, not to scam, not to commit fraud, definitely check this brother out. So let's go ahead, tag in the homie Mar. We're going to chop it up, talk a little bit about Yeezy and what he got going on. Before we click him in, hey, licensed attorney, not your attorney. The opinions you hear on here are our opinions and for entertainment purposes only. So, we always got to give that disclaimer out there. What's going on with you, brother? How you doing today?
What's going on, man? I appreciate you put that disclosure right off the bat.
Hey, man, it can get wild when we talk about Kanye. He just did so much. He got so much shit going on, man. I just was like, you know what? Let me make sure I got a real legitimate disclaimer. I'm actually type one in the description as well, because I damn sure don't want to end up in a lawsuit. And
no, well, absolutely.
It is what it is. And so, it's funny. I was saying I had a whole video recorded, and I was like, I know me and you like to do something every month, and I was like, I just texted you a couple days ago, like, man, what we gonna talk about? And I was like, a topic right in front of us. This dude just imploding right before our eyes.
It's crazy, man. I feel like we're watching a Netflix show. It's crazy that it's real.
Right. So I think the best way to start it is we're going to just kind of give a quick recap. I'm going to give a quick recap of just things and kind of where they stand. Then we can kind of chop things down one by one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kanye West essentially has kind of been on a financial spiral, so to speak. I think the first domino that dropped, and I actually did a video on this, was his contract with The Gap was terminated. That contract he had with The Gap was a contract with the total value was around $1 billion. To sell his Yeezy brand clothing in The Gap. I mean, and I did a video. He was selling this shit out of trash bags. It was real wild, crazy, bro. But that contract ended because Kanye said that they weren't holding up their end of the bargain. They breached the contract by not opening up a store that was solely for the purpose of selling Yeezy brand items and a few other things. So that relationship ended. The next domino that I think that dropped, and this was actually even before the Drink Champs interview, JP Morgan Chase actually sent him a letter saying, you know what, we don't want to do any more business with you. We're not rocking with you. You got until November 21st to move your $140 million in that bank to another institution. Now, I'm going to go down this timeline of events, but that shit is crazy. That, to me, that's the craziest, when a bank does not want your money to make money. That's crazy. So the next thing in the timeline, and I think I'm getting this in order, was the interview with Drink Champs. Now, Drink Champs, if y'all don't know, is a podcast that's done by Nori, DJ EN. What the hell is his name? You ever know the DJ name who on that show?
DJ something.
Yeah, DJ ENJENF or something like that. But essentially, Drink Champs is a podcast. You have guests on. They just sipping and talking hip hop stories about current events, the whole nine. That is under Revolt TV. Revolt is Diddy's company, essentially Diddy's media company. And this is going to come into play because based on this interview, one thing that happened was he lost a contract with Adidas because he made some anti-Semitic statements related to people, Jewish individuals. So that's one thing. He lost Adidas contract. The other thing that we got to dive in on is the family of George Floyd is suing him for $250 million for statements he made on that show related to George Floyd's death. And essentially his statements was that George Floyd died of a fentanyl overdose and that because of a choking. And so all of those things happening. Then I saw today that Foot Locker was like, you know what? Get all this Yeezy stuff up out of here. We're not dealing with it no more.
Wow.
So, yeah, Foot Locker severed ties. I felt sorry mostly for the kids from Miss Donda Sports League because they were actually playing in a big profile high school tournament where LeBron, KD, Kobe played in. And that team was barred from participating. So all those high school kids on that team can't participate in that tournament because of something that this guy said on the show. And I know you just told me something crazy that you heard, that was reported recently related to Skechers, something wild.
It showed up to Skechers headquarters and got turned away by security. Like, like this sounds crazy. Like, yeah, man, it's just left and right and left. Like, this is like career suicide, so to say, man. Like, I don't know. I don't understand. I can't believe this is happening. But hey, when you burn one bridge, I guess it's just one to another. But yeah, allegedly they're saying just recently I read an article literally like an hour ago that he went unannounced to Skechers headquarters, I guess, to talk business, and he was escorted away. And yeah, so
man, you know how crazy that is to show up at Skechers thinking you're gonna get a meeting with somebody influential. I don't give a damn who you are. That's crazy as hell.
No, for real. I'm looking at it right now. It said he showed up uninvited to Skechers' corporate office in Manhattan Beach and was turned away. He engaged in unauthorized filming. 2 Skechers executives escorted him and his party from the building after a brief conversation. The company says it wants nothing to do with them.
Man, how the mighty have fallen. Now, before we talk about each of these and is this genius? Is this stupid? Is he's gonna? Because I mean, I put a short up and I see so many people. You see some people are on the side of, man, this dude fumbled the bag, he blew it. I don't want to hear that genius crap. But then you got other people who's like, Kanye, genius. He's gonna be independent, and now he don't gotta pay Adidas anything. He gonna do it all on his own. I tell you, I'm kind of on that because I think I'm not gonna say, hey, some people who made those comments, they may have been entrepreneurs and business owners, and they may be entrepreneurs, but I think that's going to be a lot harder to do. But before we dive in, let's break down the numbers. And I thought for me the numbers were interesting because when we talk about the numbers, this dude estimated net worth was $2.2 billion. I saw anywhere from $2 to $2.2 billion. So I said, you know what? Let's just go ahead and give him $2.5 billion, right? Let's be gracious. We're going to say $2.5 billion. After all of these contracts fell through, everything is off the table. His net worth is worth $400 million. Now, when they talk about billionaires, these guys don't got $1 billion and $400 million sitting in the bank. That's not how it works. Most of their money, and you know this, is tied up in their business, maybe stocks that they hold with, like, you know, most of Elon Musk's money is in Tesla stock. So he really doesn't have that much cash on hand. What he does, because it's a way to avoid taxes, he borrows against his shares so he can have some cash to do what he needs to do because you don't pay taxes on a loan. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of the name of the game. But from a money standpoint, you go from $2.5 billion to $400 million. And $400 million is a lot more money than I probably make in 10 lifetimes. Okay, so hey, nobody's not saying that this dude isn't making money, but the magic number here is 16. 16%. 400 million is 16% of $2.5 billion. So let's put that into context. Let's say you worked hard and you became a first generation millionaire. You bust your ass. Now your total net worth, your home equity, your investments, your savings, everything you got minus everything you owe, is $1 million. If you woke up the next day and you only had 16% of that $1 million net worth, your net worth would be $160,000. So when you put those numbers in that context,
terrible.
Depending on how leveraged he was, we don't know what debts he was holding, but depending on how if he was over leveraged, he could actually be in a position where he could be stumbling into some debt when your net worth dropped. You only got 16% of what your actual net worth was, man. What you think about those numbers when you hear it?
Well, I'll preface this by saying too, like I said, yes, he still is, extremely wealthy. If we're accounting for assets and net worth and everything, but it's extremely foolish to think that it's a great idea to pretty much crash and burn if you're thinking about the disparity between what he originally had and what he has now. Like, that's a big loss. See what I'm saying? And for those that are saying it's some type of master plan, it still doesn't. Let's think of it just business terms, just logically. What sense would it make to just have to forcibly end ties? So you got to think. He doesn't sound like he plans to be 100% independent. And there's nothing wrong with not being independent, because it's good to have somebody that can control your supply chain. Say he's, doing merch.
The logistics, bro. You hit it right on the head, champ. You hit it right on the head, man. All of these people who are in the comments saying Kanye, he could do everything on his own now. Just the movement, the creation, the supply chain, the human resources, the staff you're going to have to hire, the infrastructure,
overhead.
That's a big ass undertaking. That's why I'll be honest. I think it was always smart of him how he always tried to team with somebody so he could focus on the creative and he could use their infrastructure. But you hit it on the head right there.
Yeah, that's just logic. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times people have this big thing about ownership. Ownership, of course, is important, but let's just take our feelings, emotionals, and this whole generational wealth thing out of it. Let's just think straight up logic. All right. You have a company, right? You have multiple companies. You can sort of do that on your own, but if you collab with companies that have a background in these industries, that have access to these warehouses, that have access to these other people and their connections for these materials, for this shipping, for the packaging, it makes sense to do collaboration with them. And then you break them off their percentage, you do what you do on your back end, and so on and so forth. You can't tell me a sane man, I guess maybe, a sane man could think it's logical to do all of this stuff by yourself when the whole reason how you jumped into it was through collaborations, because on the back end, it's a lot easier to do things as a group or a partnership with somebody than trying to do this by yourself and building it all together. So it's possible to do it that way, but do you want to have to pull out your eyes having to go through the process, or you want to build up on something that you can as well? And I just don't think this is a smart move. And if people are saying it's intentional, if it's intentional, how does he know that he can rebuild what he lost in his own method? I'm just really curious what all of these supporters are going to say, like logically, how, I just don't understand, man. It just doesn't make sense.
Hey, man, see, I had to pull out the prop. I thought I had it. Comfortable ass shoe, man. This is the old folks orthopedic shoe, but it's one of the most comfortable shoes I ever wore in my life. But here is the problem, and a lot of people that I saw when I put the short video up, they making these comments about, oh, he always wanted to get out of this contract. Well, now we're at a problem, and we're going to talk about the banking thing, but let's talk about Adidas first. Well, it was two problems. One, Adidas had to make a move because Adidas is the last company in the world who wants to be associated with somebody who's making anti-Semitic statements, considering Adidas made shoes for Nazi soldiers back. People don't know. People don't know, but look at what Adidas is short for. The name and owner, founder, was a member of the Nazi Party, and so Adidas, I think, did the smart move. Like, hey, considering that history, we need to get away from this. Did you see their stock when Kanye left?
Plummeted. Straight nosedive. That's what. Straight nosedive. Toilet flushed. Just straight.
it was something like 2 point some odd billion dollars that they made this
They
year.
almost lost $250 million.
Yeah,
They're
it was
planning
like
in the next
Yeezy,
yeah.
Yeezy brand brought in a lot of money to them. Like,
That's true.
is no arguing that.
Uh-huh.
I think that's, you can't disprove that. That's a fact. But the problem that I'm seeing in a lot of the comments where people talk about, oh man, there's a smart move. He wanted his independence. In order to have a brand for Yeezy is two things. Okay, the name Yeezy has value, and the creativity, he has that. But it's also the design. But now he has a problem because everybody's like, oh yeah, now he can sell Yeezys on his own. Well, it got to be a whole new Yeezy that's different from that one that I just held up, because he holds the intellectual property to the name Yeezy. Adidas still maintains the rights to all of the shoe designs. So I actually put a short video out. Adidas already said we still going to make the Yeezy shoe, just not have the Yeezy name on it because we got the rights to the shoe design.
Wow, that's a win on their end.
Yeah, so I mean, let's just think about it. Like, okay, yeah, you got everything, you got the Yeezy name, but you're gonna have to start everything from scratch. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to start everything from scratch, starting from the bottom up. The golf jacket. I know, man. Hitler was wearing them Adidas back in the day.
Crazy. Yeah, that's the last thing they want is anything associated to the brand with that. With these days, you pull up the history, it's over.
And so let's backtrack, because I thought I did a video. I put it in the description box about the Gap thing, but the Gap contract that fell through was crazy. I actually laughed because that was like a 10-year contract. And I was like, who the fuck negotiated that contract for the Gap? If you negotiating a contract with Kanye West, it's a 2-year contract with an option for a third.
With a clause, player option.
A player option. You gotta have a LeBron James contract, man. You gotta do a 1-and-1. They did a 10-year contract. That shit didn't even last 10 months. Like, come on, man.
It's one of those things, and you got to look at it on the other side with the companies too. I can't even feel bad for these companies because they know what they're getting themselves into too. They know the type of support and popularity they can gain from Kanye, or Ye joining their brand, but they also know the fallout they can have because he has proven, whether you agree with him or not, erratic, impulsive behavior. They're gonna call them breezies.
I know. I saw a podcast. They was like, man, I hope the Yeezys don't become the international shoe of hate. They was like, people gonna start rocking them Jones with their red MAGA hats. but so the Gap thing fell through. That was valued at $1 billion. To me, I think this is the biggest thing of all. This dude had $140 million in JP Morgan Chase before the Drink Champs interview, and they told him to come get your money out of our financial institution. We don't want it. Now, just think about it. Every time you put $100 in the bank, they got this concept called fractional lending. And what fractional lending is the federal government requires them to keep a certain amount of cash in the bank. So if I put $10,000 in the bank account, that means that they can lend out, because they got $10,000 cash, they can lend out $100,000. And so that's how banks make their money. So you got to think, if you got $140 million in the bank, that's a lot of money and revenue that the bank can make. The fact that they wanted to walk away from that, dude, even before these statements,
not worth the headache.
It's crazy.
And I feel like the more of these companies were falling out against them. Oh man, don't worry, AB will help. Oh boy, man. Oh yeah, it started with that dude. Matter of fact, they've been competing for headlines. Antonio Brown and Kanye, man, crazy. I don't know if you kept up with that.
Man, I can't. I did a video on AB, man. He trying to use Lil Wayne name in vain, and AB just a mess, man. I'm convinced he broke, man. Let me play this video real quick. And there's a quick video I found, and it's talking about how maybe a 2-minute video where Forbes explains just some of the steps that they use in coming up with the name of the people on their billionaire list. And it was funny too, because when I saw this list, it's funny because Jeff Bezos is like number 1 on the list, and his wife is on the list. I was like, damn, that dude got a divorce. His wife on the billionaire list, and he's still number one. That motherfucker got money, dog.
It's crazy. It's
I was
crazy.
like, he
I'm
got
surprised
a
she on the list. She been giving away so much money too.
She was still up there though, bro.
Pile
Man.
Forbes billionaires list, and it's a massive, massive undertaking. You know, the entire Forbes billionaires list, it's basically a snapshot of the wealth of the world's billionaires and who they are and what they're worth. And so it's not the kind of thing where we're going through and picking who's going to be on the list and who's not going to be on the list. It's really just a big investigative project to say, here's who the world's wealthiest are, here's how much they have. This year we found 2,208 billionaires. We come through a database of more than double that to arrive at that number. Most billionaires on the list don't have their whole net worth in cash. Often their wealth is tied up in the businesses they founded or inherited. And so that kind of stuff is usually traceable. If it's a public company, they have to disclose in the United States with the SEC. So we can comb through that and see how much of a company a person owns. And if it's a public company, the stock market actually puts a value on that for us. For private companies, it's a little bit more difficult and challenging. And in those cases, we try to find credible financial information about the business, and then we talk to experts who can tell us, what that business would actually be worth. But that's basically how we do it for private companies and for private assets too that billionaires own. Art collections, yachts, private islands, things like that. We have private island experts who can kind of help us assess the value of something like that. A lot of people ask why certain people aren't on the list. The members of the Rothschild family, the Rockefeller family, names like that. The list is really a list of individual billionaires rather than widespread family fortunes. And the same thing for people asking about Vladimir Putin or things like that. It's hard to break out where money is so intermingled with the government. And the other thing is we are looking into what we can actually prove and pin down. And we always try to err on the conservative side, whenever doing any of our calculations. So that's why you don't see the whole Walton family on the list. For example, they're probably the wealthiest family in America. You see individual Walton, family members, but certainly not the entire family.
Yeah, so I wanted to go on that, just to kind of get an idea of, when these dudes come up with this billionaires list, they're not just pulling it out of their ass. They got a whole team.
Do a little something. They definitely doing something. That private section, I was like, yeah, it's hard, isn't it? I could tell he was like, yeah, you're trying to get that information.
They got somebody to come out to appraise the damn island. So these dudes are doing some research because there was a lot of I seen a lot of comments where, like, I don't know, like, there's a lot of people out there who think that when they say Kanye West is a billionaire, they literally think that he got like $1 billion in the damn
dollars just chilling in the bank, which is nuts.
Yeah, but I thought the fact that the bank said get your $140 million out of here, we don't want to mess with you, is a lot. Considering that J.P. Morgan Chase is the same bank where Jeffrey Epstein had his millions of dollars at.
Yeah,
they kept Jeffrey Epstein's money, but they didn't want Kanye West.
That's
what do you think about that, man?
That's hypocrisy. That's definitely hypocrisy. Me personally, if I'm a bank, I guess I don't know. You have to actually maybe do something super egregious, or super like criminal, like you killed somebody or something. Because banks, I didn't even know banks really had a moral compass like that. I really feel like, like I said, Kanye's been erratic, but I feel like because he's stepped on too many elite, like super wealthy people's toes, that they're probably like, hey man, you can't mess with this dude. If you support him, I'm going to pull out, or this. Because the Chase thing was really what sticks out to me the most. Adidas, that's not shocking. Balenciaga, that's not shocking. Gap, all of those different things, because those organizations, they're right in the forefront. Chase does so many crazy stuff in the back. I'd be surprised how many wealthy or nuts or crazy people have a bunch of wealth in there. Kanye is just, I think he's just too loud right now. He's super loud right now. And if we're just thinking business wise, none of these decisions has even done made sense. Like, even the people are trying to take the little, like, you're not thinking deep enough type of stance.
I hate that.
Why would I career suicide myself out of a deal? That makes no sense. Right. Like, what?
let's just be honest. And I would love to, like, I think Kanye West is a musical genius.
I give him that on the music
Yeah, I
side.
think he's a musical genius, but I get tired of that. All I see in the comments is, "Oh man, y'all don't see the picture, man. This is a smart move by Kanye because he wanted out of the contract. Now he owned it all." Like, come on, y'all. Like really? Like, do you think that Kanye West will ever acquire a net worth of $2 billion ever again? You think he'll climb back up that ladder and get to that point?
I guess I can't rule anything out. It's possible, but it's going to be a lot harder. Right now, it's too crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is completely far left, but when that Travis Scott thing happened, I didn't think that man was going to be able to recover. But look at him now. You know what I'm saying?
No, I didn't think that was bad because I did a video on that, and his liability in that is just low. I mean,
yeah, well, I don't mean the liability. That's what I mean about the fallout. Just the public image. You know what I'm saying? Like,
nah. The shit Travis Scott did is easier to bounce back than what Kanye West did.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
That's why I said it. That's why I said it's far left. But what I mean is, I'm thinking. I was thinking, I was like, man, you know, because sometimes when you get something super, like when everybody's killing you in the comments, are you a murderer? You started this, or you did that. Companies, it's not that they don't want to support you. They just feel like they're going to lose money supporting you.
Yeah.
So even with Kanye said so much crazy stuff, man. And I really feel like he still has, right now, it's dead. But he still has room to later on somebody to come. Because, also, not even getting it super political, but he's doing all this crazy stuff. He's getting a lot of support around the Fox type of guys, the super conservative, the Candace Owens or whatever.
They funded his whole presidential campaign. But let's talk a little bit about that too, because there's actually another interesting tie between Kanye West and Candace Owens.
Oh man, yeah.
But essentially, back when and we all know it's a fact that Republicans had funded Kanye West to run for office, and it, you know, I personally think it was a whole vote dilution thing, but that's neither here nor there. But and I can't, let me pull it up because I don't want to get the name wrong. But back when, you know, Trump and all of these people were getting tossed off of Twitter and Instagram for these comments and things revolving around January 6th, there was a new social app that was created. Let me pull up the name.
I forgot what it was called.
Start with a P or something. You know what I'm talking about?
Is it the one that Candace Owens' husband owns? Or
Yeah.
Because I heard they said they were alleging. I don't like to go off of just Instagram. I have to see, but they said Kanye had some stake in there or something, and no purchasing of it, or I don't know. I'd have to double check, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to find this thing, but essentially it was a kind of like a right-wing social platform that was created, and Candace Owens' husband is the CEO, and Kanye has agreed or entered into a deal allegedly to purchase that social platform. It's kind of like how, you know, how Trump got Truth Social. It's kind of something. It's kind of something similar along those lines. And so I was like, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me now why Candace Owens is walking with him hand in hand, because I'm sure if Kanye West is going to buy that, I'm sure her husband, the CEO, going to sell it for a big ass bag. You know what I mean?
Oh, so yeah, definitely.
It's always some. Parler. There you go. Thanks. See, I knew somebody in it.
Oh, there we go. Because
it's the Parler app. So it's always some finessing in it. Now let's talk about. We talked a little bit about the money, and we're gonna go. We're gonna talk a little bit more because I got some real stuff I want to talk about on this George Floyd lawsuit thing. And
for sure.
But before we dive in, let me get your take. Lost you, man.
Yeah, I clicked that stop cam by mistake.
Okay, my man was like, "Fuck this! It's about to go left. I don't want to mess up my brain."
Let's talk about this. Click. Oh man, my bad. I can't hear anything. I can't see anything too.
so y'all let me know it, and I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Like, I'm gonna tell you, one of the people in hip hop who really impresses me, and I bring this up because this person to me is like the opposite of Kanye West, is Shine.
Oh, Shine.
Like,
Like Shine.
and I just think of it because Shine. I'm a little bit older than you, but I remember when Shine came out, when he was on the scene, when he went through a situation, to get to a point where like, damn, this dude's a politician and believes,
Yeah, that's a
and
big
he's
switch.
doing big shit in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Respect. Again, not saying Kanye isn't doing stuff because we're gonna talk
Mm-hmm.
about it, but
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel about Kanye West? And because this is me, I'll give you my opinion first. Now we talked a
Mm-hmm.
little bit about it before we went live. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like Kanye West, this is his little step move that he does. He'll say some
Mm-hmm.
shit or do some shit to kind of shit on black people. I don't care if it's
Mm-hmm.
the comment about Harriet Tubman or something. He'll say
Mm-hmm.
something, and then when like he gets resistance from the black culture, he'll jump over and be like, "I'm Moses," and he'll go into his whole pro-black where he'll try to say something. And I feel like that's just constantly something that he
Mm-hmm.
plays back and forth. And I
Mm-hmm.
listened to it. I actually wanted to show the clip, but I was like, I get canceled if I play that clip. But I
Oh
was
yeah,
listening to a
yeah.
clip of Brilliant Idiots with Charlemagne the God. And he was like, and what my view is, why would Charlemagne the God lie about this? He was like, I mean, this dude has had
Mm-hmm.
people who ran for president, the president's on on the Breakfast
Mm-hmm.
Club doing interviews.
Mm-hmm.
He was like,
Mm-hmm.
I know for a fact he doesn't believe the things that he say because I talked to him about it behind stage. Like we've actually had those conversations. But what is your thoughts on Kanye West? Because I feel like everybody's like, oh man,
Mm-hmm.
he said anti-Semitic statements, and I'm like, okay, I'm not surprised because he's been
Mm-hmm.
saying stuff to shit on black culture for
Mm-hmm.
years,
All
in
the
my
time.
opinion. What are your thoughts on
Mm-hmm.
that?
So the best way I could say, I feel like Kanye gaslights the black community.
Right,
And he's extremely manipulative. I feel like we'll have a better idea of black people within the public media and their true intentions if we took out the fact that they were black and just went
right,
off of their actions. Unfortunately, we can't because we as blacks, and especially in America, these things are big and very recognizable or identified. And I feel like his biggest motivation is him. It's very self-serving and it's telling in what he's saying. You know what I'm saying? And which is fine, which is fine. If you're in for you, that's fine. But he makes this illusion as if he's doing things for the community or for people as a whole when it's really about his own thirst for what he deems successful or another accomplishment within his career. So when he says these things and the fact that if that source, let's say whether what Charlemagne was saying was true or not, I believe, just going off of my personal opinion, that Kanye says a lot of these things for attention, whether it's to boost album streams or whether it's to
right.
boost whatever projects he has in the making. Because whether he believes it or not, people can't deny the fact, even the biggest Kanye supporters, that he says some wild stuff, some
Right.
off the wall stuff. And it's gotten to the point where, like I said, I feel like he gaslights the black community, but I feel like overall, all of the things that he's saying, I really believe that some of these things he does believe it, but a lot of these things he doesn't. But because whether it's his mental state or where he's personally combined with him being self-absorbed, it's pretty much like yeah. I missed the late registration Kanye for real, man. This Kanye is just out of it, and no matter what he does, he's going to have a huge community. But just long story short story long, the things that he's doing is really driven by his own. I don't even like using this word; it's like a buzzword, but I do think he's a little bit narcissistic, self-absorbed,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
just it's just what he personally is trying to do. He's so confident in himself that he's self-destructing. You know what I'm saying? Right in front of our eyes. And even if what he believes ever, let's say all of the things he was saying, anti-Semitic or the racial comments that about black people or people overall was true, he's only saying all of these things for whatever agenda that he has at hand. None
Right,
of this is for any benefit but his.
right,
So
right.
where do we go from here? It's not logical for him to do any of these things. If you're really trying to grow any business or do any business ventures, what sense does it make to do any of the erratic things that he's done?
Right, right.
So
And I think you're right, man. I feel like I kind of think of it as like I feel like the shit he say he uses it to weaponize black people. Like,
Yeah.
if I say something to get out of pocket
Mm-hmm.
and it turns off the white demographic,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna play the pro-black role and get the support from the black people because
Mm-hmm.
we identify that the dude is talented. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, realistically, we all like to see our people win. You know what I mean? But I feel
Mm-hmm.
like he is a take situation. If I could say
Mm-hmm.
something wild to appease the corporations about black people, I'm gonna do it. But if I go too far with the corporations and they don't love me no more, I gotta turn on the pro-black switch to get everybody over here. And
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about it from a money standpoint, hey, in this country, everybody got freedom of speech. You know, freedom of speech has very few exceptions to it. If it's like inciting violence and all of these type of stuff when you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about the Constitution, but with that freedom of speech, hey, I think he takes the concept of all publicity as good publicity, but because you got freedom of speech, you got to understand when you say something, sometimes you're going to say something and you write a check that your ass can't cash. And that's what happened here. He said something. It got to a point where there's no way he thought that him doing that damn Drink Champs interview was going to get to him only having 16% of his net worth 2 fucking days later. It ain't no way in the world that he thought that. But when you say what you want and you think you could gaslight people, hey, when you sign that check that your ass can't cash, that's just the situation that it is right now, and he paying for it in one of the places that hurts most. And that's the other thing to me, like, you so pro-black and you want to help black people, and that's cool. And I acknowledge that he is helping black people. But dog, you could do a lot fucking more as a billionaire than a 400 millionaire to put people in power, to empower black people to do things in the black community. Whatever if your whole plan was to help black people, you just took away a lot of your resources to be able to fucking do it in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and like I think people are a little bit too tied emotionally to Kanye. You have to take Kanye the performer away and think about him if he was just your crazy uncle that you might call out. You know what I'm saying? That's how you got to look at it.
Crazy uncle at the barbecue.
Yeah, crazy uncle at the barbecue, man. We all got that crazy uncle or that little off, just a little off, man, a little bit off. And honestly, like he literally, once again, we're going back. This is not a good strategy. It's not a good strategy to estrange yourself from different communities, from different companies. It's just not logical to distance yourself. And as I'm reading this Washington Post, even this Washington Post article, they got a bunch of articles with them too. It looks like 3-4 different articles. It's just like, what is the logic in anything that he's doing right now? Like severing ties with these companies and inciting whatever you may be inciting with the things that you say, like stereotyping people, or when we know that you're really just Kanye is just the way we say it, Kanye is emotional, but the problem is he's unpredictable. Okay, let's say everything he was saying was true. He's unpredictable. Who wants to go into a business where somebody is unpredictable,
Right.
that they're erratic, that he might do this or he might jump this way, he might do that way? Anything that you do in life where you want to get a consistent return is deals with consistency. You can't deal with somebody that one day might go off the hinge and do this or do that. Like, how can you make a contract discussion with that? How can you creatively make a decision? Like, yeah, man.
Yeah, and so I pulled this clip up on the screen, but I think this is, to me, it goes to everybody who claiming genius and everything. This one little clip right here says a lot about. I do believe that he believes one thing. He believes that he's been saying wild shit for so long he could say it, and I think that he really thought that he was untouchable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could say anti-Semitic things and Adidas can't drop me. Now what?
Adidas confirming it is ending its lucrative partnership with Kanye West, now known as Ye. The company saying in a statement,
2 hours later,
comments and actions have been unacceptable, hateful, and dangerous, and they violate the company's values of diversity and inclusion, mutual respect, and fairness.
All right, and so let me tell you the interesting thing about that, and we're gonna talk about this George Floyd thing as well. But
Mm-hmm.
it's funny because I have friends who are Jewish, and so I got to ask them, like, okay, how did you take the Kanye West thing that was said? Because I'm not Jewish, I don't understand, right? But there's an interesting
Mm-hmm.
documentary on Netflix, and when they explained it to me in this context, I said, you know what, that actually makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that didn't age well, right. And so, what my boy told me was, he said you got to think about it from a contextual purpose. Like, if you go back to the Nazi times, and it's actually common. There's a documentary on Netflix called How to Become a Dictator, and there's like 5 episodes. And they got one where they talk about Nazi Germany, Idi Amin. They even got an episode about Donald Trump. And one of the common tactics that people who become dictators or dictators use is they identify a group of people or a race to
Mm-hmm.
blame economic problems on. And so when
Mm-hmm.
my boy explained it to me that way, he said, so just think about it. He said that same type of rhetoric was rhetoric that was used in, during, the entire Nazi movement, because the economy was bad and the rhetoric was,
You got to
well,
blame somebody.
the reason
Mm-hmm.
we can't get anything is because they've taken it all. And this is that
Mm-hmm.
same type of rhetoric. And so I was like, okay, it was dope for him to be able to put it in context, because I'm not a Jewish person. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, break it down for me how you heard it. You know what I mean? So I can kind of understand. But this dude is, I'm gonna be honest, I would be shocked as hell if he ever gets to a point where he's on Forbes list for being a billionaire again. I I would be shocked, and I would tell you his rise to a billionaire is probably one of the greatest rises to billionaire
Crazy.
status we ever seen. Because I don't know if y'all remember, but in 2016, Kanye West tweeted that he was $53 million in debt, and
I remember that.
he actually asked Mark Zuckerberg to invest $1 billion into Yeezy and his brand and everything to grow. So to
Mm-hmm.
go from negative 53 million in 2016 to $2.2 billion in 2022, that's a fucking that in
That was
itself is probably
crazy.
that's like a meteoric rise. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, definitely. Definitely. You think about, I forgot he did talk about that. I think that was during the time when he was promoting that one Life of Pablo album
Right.
too, when he was going down in depth. And yeah, that's and this is the thing too. We can say, the people can say, oh, maybe he got treated differently than somebody else or whatever the case. Why is it that people make comments about a certain group of people? The real gripe that Kanye needs to focus on is people that are at his level in wealth and higher. This whole thing, like the thing that you're saying about Jews, there's a small amount of people that are billionaires, that are ultra hundreds of millions of dollars. You get
Right.
what I'm saying? And and why would you try to single out a specific type of people and say that it's them that's causing whatever's causing? The reality is Kanye is in a whole nother bracket.
Right.
All these ultra elite people are in a whole nother bracket.
Right.
Some may be Jewish, some may be Irish, heck, some people might be black or whatever the case.
Right.
He just goes on these tangents and just tries to find something to connect the dot, and then people go out, you know what I'm saying, and say what they say. That's true. It's very true. Even now, a lot of people aren't really familiar with what's going on with Jews that are persecuted over in the Middle East, especially.
Right.
But even here, like the even now, people think it's good stereotypes, but this whole thing, they think that every Jew around the corner just has a bunch of money just sitting like they're leprechauns or something. It's so weird. Like
Right.
like I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And people probably, somebody's going to care more. Like a black person will care more if something's being talked about black people. Jewish people are going to care more about people that are speaking about Jewish people. Kanye has such a big presence that his crazy comments can easily impact way more people than any comments that me or you could even make.
Yeah,
You know
he
what I'm
had an audience.
saying?
Right,
You know what I'm
right.
saying? Like, it just comes off like he's just willfully ignorant, man.
Yeah.
And
And I think that this is a comment that's on point. Like this comment right here is like, hey, this is just somebody who's been entitled and privileged for a long time, and they think they can do and say whatever the hell they want, and rules don't apply. And he went too far and didn't think he would get spanked. You know, and it's funny because I tell you, that's actually something that Kanye West has a mentality, and tell me if you ever heard of this mentality. Like, it's some people who adopt the mentality of I don't want to be a sellout. It's some black people like, oh man, I don't want to be a sellout. I want to do it on my own. And you know, like, oh man, I can't get this because this person or the white man or whoever is holding me back. If most people who adopt that mentality, if you think Bob Johnson became the richest black man in America by saying that, oh man, I don't want to be a sellout, so I'm not going to work with people from other cultures and other races. Nah, like if you show me somebody who don't want to do that, and I'm gonna show you somebody who is not going to be as successful as they can be, because you got to build bridges and inroads with everybody.
Well, everybody, and it may be different races like this. Even like that might be a whole nother topic. In America, especially, first of all, we're a capitalist society. So if you want to progress and scale, it's best to go about that model. And how would I be able to proficiently scale if I'm only individually looking for just black people for something?
Right.
Or if I'm going to look at just one specific, you know what I'm saying? That doesn't really make sense logically. You know what I'm saying?
And you narrowing your audience down by doing that. You know what
Exactly.
I mean? Like it just makes no sense. Now I want to talk a little bit about the George Floyd situation, right? This is going to spin off into, we're going to talk a little bit about Kanye and Floyd, but it also goes to something that you are, something that a lot of us are content creators. You know what I mean? So, but Kanye West made some statements on the Drink Champs. We talked about it before, but he said that, hey, this George Floyd died because of a fentanyl overdose, and the family, rightfully so, was pissed. Now, let's put this into context. When the George Floyd thing first popped off and he actually passed away, Kanye West donated like $2 million so that George Floyd's daughter could actually go to college. And so it was funny because I saw a lot of comments just through social media where people were like, oh man, they're going to sue him and he donated $2 million. I don't give a damn what you donated. I don't care what you did. If you could have done something good in year one. If year three, you do something that causes a harm and you could be sued for, yes, it's probably going to get sued. That's just kind of what it is. But they're essentially going to sue him for defamatory statements. You know what I mean? And I'm sure there's probably going to be some intentional infliction of emotional distress, because by saying shit like that, you making the family relive
the moment, causing emotional distress.
So I'm sure all of that's going to be thrown up in there. But I think that I think it was twofold. I think one, that Kanye West think that his pocket's so deep he can say whatever the hell he wants. But I think the other thing too is, I think that because he was on the platform, Drink Champs, it gets majority of his views from YouTube and stuff like that. I think that he didn't think it was as much, I guess, restrictions on what he can say and the type of rhetoric. Because you got to think, if Kanye goes on one of those Fox shows or something and sit down with Kennedy, I mean, the FCC has a tight control on comments that can and can't be made. But if you're sitting down doing a video with somebody who got hundreds of thousands of subscribers on a YouTube channel or a platform like that, is a lot more lenient into what they allow you to say. So what are your thoughts on that lawsuit, and the fact that I think Nori was smart, because Nori took that shit down fast as hell.
If he was smart enough, it would have been a good idea to not even, that's his boy, even having him on the show, because they know they're going to get engagement and views, but Kanye just speaks off the dome. Like somebody
he actually said that, though. He was like, last time we had you on the show, we did record views, but Nori took that thing down in maybe 2 days, because I'm telling you right now, if I'm representing George Floyd's family, I'm like, you know what? Bring the lawsuit against Kanye West. Bring it against the Drink Champs folks. Bring it against Revolt, because that's where the money at. Because Diddy got that bag.
That's the reality of it. And some people say it's messed up, but you're doing something where you can be found culpable. And you know more about this than me, but I could see this happening and he having to settle out of court or whatnot, because you can't go out around speaking reckless and not expect some ramifications. You know what I'm saying? There's consequences for everybody's actions. Why is it that people feel because they idolize people that are in, the public and think it's, it's just bad branding?
Right, and I also think we've been seeing the trend too, and YouTubers and podcasters getting slapped over the head with big ass judgments. I mean, the first one that come to mind was $4 million judgment Cardi B got against Tasha K, who's a YouTuber with a big following, for making false statements. That was number one. You sent me the link on the Alex Jones thing.
Yeah, man. I forgot
and I know the homie in the channel, TXC Tells All, they actually did a video talking about that judgment, but Alex Jones got to pay a bag. Billions, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was so large. I was like, man, he's never going to pay that back, but they're going to garnish everything, boy. It's over for that boy. He gonna be living in one of them tinfoil house. He can have nothing left, man. Like I think hopefully people will start to realize that no matter how big of a star, Tasha K definitely don't got it. I heard she flew the country. She flew the country, bro. Yeah, she left. She took off, man. She went back to her home. Yeah, man, her homeland.
My man Wolverine told me about it. He was like, man, Cardi reached out to her and was like, if you just take it down, I drop everything. Take down the video and I drop everything. And she left the shit up.
See, this is the thing. I feel like people get this ego when they start having illusions of grandeur. Like they start feeling they're untouchable, bro. I used to tell my little sister that you're getting a little illusions of grandeur right now. Hold on, pipe down, bro. Lower that little ego right now. Use your logic here. The world don't work like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like they get their presence and their voices get so stronger. They get so much support that the logic start just jumping. I've been using the word logic a lot, but this really comes down. The moral of the thing is logic and ego and a little bit of research and intelligence. Like you spew something out, people are going to challenge you. But even going back to what you said with the George Floyd thing, just legally, that's just foolish, man. And once again, he's going to get a lot of support on a certain amount, a certain group. But also him going on those shows, like say he go on a show, hop on one of our shows, he might go on live and say something. Fox News don't play that. They shared what they wanted to hear from him, and I'm pretty sure they edited all of the stuff. He probably said anti-Semitic stuff on there too.
But
they took that off.
We can't go this far, guys. Like,
yeah. He's like, all right, this is a little too much. Yeah, man. So like legally,
she told her 3 or 4 times. That's crazy as hell.
And she still did. And even after the judgment, she still felt like, I don't know, she felt some type of confidence. Maybe she was just thinking that and she was packing her suitcase from the jump. But
I don't know, man. It's wild because I understand both sides of it, because you gotta think about it. Like, unfortunately, Google is the number 1 search engine. YouTube is the number 2 search engine. I see the inherent problem with that if you're going to YouTube for facts. Because YouTube isn't a place you go to get facts. Mm-hmm. But how it works is, think about it. You go to YouTube, is the number 2 search engine. People want to know something. So what people see on YouTube, a lot of times they take it as fact. You look at a video about something and they got 4 million views, you're gonna be like, damn. A lot of people are like, damn, this must be true. We got 4 million views and
about 100,000 thumbs up.
Right, 100,000 thumbs up. Like 2 dislikes. You like, what in the world? So
that's why they hit that dislike count, boy.
Right. So a lot of people actually go to YouTube to find truth. They go to social media to find truth, to find actual news and facts. And that's definitely not what the platform is for. So, him making those comments, this video gets millions of views. There are people out there who will be like, unfortunately, gonna be like, yeah, is right. Even though anybody who's familiar with George Floyd, they know that was their argument, was that the guy died of a fentanyl overdose. If that was the truth, their asses wouldn't have been convicted. You know what I mean?
Exactly. At this point, it's like, keep your conspiracies or your thoughts against this in private, because once you take the public, you're looking for some litigation. And there's some gasoline and a fire about to go blow real crazy right now because you talking crazy and not thinking about the legal repercussions that'll come around. And people rely on Twitter and YouTube a little bit too much. In my opinion, it's just like, this could be a tool, but it's dangerous as well. And people like Tasha K, you know, she has a very huge presence. I didn't even know who she was until the Cardi B thing came out.
Right.
There's a case too. I might send you that. Nicki Minaj was coming for somebody now legally because they were spreading some stuff about her. So yeah, a lot of these celebs are starting to call these people out. And this is the thing too. A lot of these people, they're journalists, but they didn't start under New York Times or they didn't start under.
Right.
That doesn't lessen their ability though, but I feel like they're not media trained.
They may not be cognizant of the lanes you can and can't go down.
They don't even say allegedly. They just go out. Yeah, I heard this person got the clap, and then
my man called it the clap. That's like
clap, man.
That's back when my father was a teenager. They called it that.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, she
a video of Chase Bank taking her money out of the bank.
See, she's smart enough to do that and flee the country, but she's not smart enough to not have to leave her fly out the country.
Down. Like litigation will break you. And litigation is because trust me, I know.
You know.
The minute I graduated and passed the bar, I didn't know my ass from a hole in the ground, but I was charging folks $400 an hour.
The price is price.
It's expensive, man. These people can't even afford lawyers to defend themselves. So there's no way you're going to be able to pay those judgments. You're going to have your money. And if you do got any money, like I'm sure that Alex Jones probably got his money somewhere in a Swiss bank account somewhere. Because he plugged and got connections and been making money for a long, long time to where he has those connections. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked and I wouldn't be surprised if Revolt, the drink champs, they go all the way down the line and throw everybody in the lawsuit. Because that's the name of the game. You throw everybody's name in the game, and you want to try to get to where the bag is. You know what I mean? Yeah. I know that Revolt's bag is a lot bigger than Nori's bag. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's why Nori is under there. Hey, you know the super wokes and be like, well, why don't Nori use his presence and start his own thing instead of going under the thing? Maybe he'll do it later, but
all of these people who think what Kanye did, like to jump out on his own, is dope. These are the same people who agree 100% with Dame Dash, and Dame Dash actually went back and changed that. But you know how early on Dame Dash used to be like, it's nothing but boss. It's nothing but boss. If everybody was a boss and the CEO and the executive, the fucking economy would crumble. Like,
yeah, what everybody gonna do? Oh no, I don't do that. Bosses don't do that.
Yeah, like, I'm a boss. I can't take this job. You got your cleaning company. I got my own cleaning company. Nobody, this shit will crumble. You know what I mean? So
that's Dame with his ego, man. You only as strong as your force. You're only as strong as the people under you. Like,
right.
You got to have a little bit of respect, a little reverence on them. Like it's cool for you to be the owner, you to be the boss, but there's a team that builds this together now. like come on, man. I hate to say it too, but Jay-Z, people can say whatever they want about Jay-Z, but he has his own strategy. He leveraged his little partnership, sell a stake, build his money, jump into another thing, sell a stake, build his money. Whereas if you jumped in an independent, there's a lot more liability and a lot more responsibility you have. Well, you know what I'm saying? Like either way, you do what you do. But I feel like Jay-Z strategically was able to prosper more than Dame strategically with a lot of these things, because he's not too big on having to own all of this or having to do all of this. When I remember one time he had like 1/10% of that Nets team, and he sold a stake and then started his agency, and he way bigger bag, signing all of these different basketball players, don't know nothing about sports. Not stamped into, you know what I'm saying? What people will say.
Yeah. And nothing against Hov, but I low key think Hov was probably smiling when he saw Ye fell out of the billionaire club. Because Kanye jumped Hov big time, man.
Oh, for sure.
He almost doubled up Hov, man. It was funny because I was like, this is just how people who are hypocrites are. You know, Kanye West up here making these anti-Semitic statements and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just think about who's on Kanye West's staff. The first thing I thought while you was talking, I was just doing some search, and I was like, I bet you any amount of money when Kanye West got a divorce, he damn sure didn't have no black lawyer going in there representing him. I said, I guarantee you, I bet you he had a Jewish lawyer. His accountant is probably a Jewish guy, because all the shit he talking, he probably like, you know what? I'm gonna go with a Jewish guy because he's gonna protect my money. So it's such a hypocrisy there, man.
Whatever fits his narrative. You get what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it's whatever fits his narrative. Kanye's going to say whatever Kanye wants to say, and people are going to support it no matter how outlandish it is, because whether if it's a stereotype, whether if it's a false truth, whatever, it's just sound good to him. He's going to throw it out. You know what I'm saying? He'll jump in.
I actually Googled. I Googled my Google search history. Wow, is Kanye West divorce lawyer Jewish? Soon as I typed it in, dog, a picture of him popped up. I was like, see? I was like, you out here talking all this shit.
Listen, the first thing that popped up, you know, when I told you about the Skechers thing, apparently like the top executives that have big ownership stake in Skechers are Jewish. Like, come on, bro. How you gonna go there? Like, come on, bro.
Like,
what you thought was going to happen,
like,
bro?
On a common sense scale, this dude is foolish.
This man is slow.
I damn sure Googled it, and the first thing that showed up was this attorney, his law firm's name, and a picture of him. And I was like, this dude, come on, man. So like, you can't burn those bridges. I would be shocked. Like, you know, I just don't know if he's gonna ever touch billionaire status again, because I think it's gonna be a long ass time. And this is the thing too. I feel like Kanye took a loss early on for like $50-something million, because early on he tried to do everything on his own, and he ended up taking a $50-something million loss. I don't know if you remember that infamous Sway interview. And so,
of course,
he did something that was smart. He was like, you know what? I fronted my own money and lost $50 million. Let me just brand with these big companies, like you talked about earlier with the infrastructure.
Who has it already? That's Shark Tank. That's like Shark Tank.
Right.
Yes, I can keep doing myself, but I get this jump with these people that have these connections and have more equity than me. Because as rich as Kanye is, them companies have way more equity than that man. He's one person.
Right, right.
Why not I do this deal? It works for you. It works for me until it doesn't. That man crazy, man.
If Kanye starts his own company, all he got is a name right now, because he don't even own a goddamn shoe design. If he starts his own company, and that's the thing, a lot of people be like, oh, I don't want to have my partnerships. I want to do my own. Owning 100% of nothing isn't cool. But owning 15% of a $10 billion company, that's a big fucking deal. You know what I mean? You gotta think about it in the context. Like, yeah, I can own 100% of a $2 million company or $10 million company, but I would much rather own a 10 or 15% equity interest in a $1 billion company.
Same concept. That's like where people were talking. I've seen a lot of people talk bad about Stephen A. Smith. And I'm not even going to talk about whether he bashes people, whether he does this or that. They like to talk about, well, he can start his own show. He can do it. He can start his own show, but he can still do that later. Why not keep milking ESPN's bags? Stephen A. Smith is ESPN. Like, why am I going to start? Sometimes starting something your own you don't necessarily need to do that. It's strategy. ESPN has way more money, way more exposure, way more infrastructure, way more inventory, way more connections to, you know what I'm saying? I thought he hired Johnny Depp, not for divorce, but for something else.
Yeah, I was looking, and he probably, he's so tied up in litigation. His divorce lawyer was the same lawyer that Bill Gates' wife used, Robert Cohen.
Man.
Yeah, I was like, but dog, you talking all that pro-black stuff. Why you? I expect your whole staff to be black. Nah,
yeah, be black. Right.
Yeah, man, stop. I feel like you out here false flagging, talking a bunch of BS, man. If you ain't about it, man, just say what it is. Say you just gaslighting. You just want to get your name out there for any type of crazy reason at all. But yeah, that guy, man. He falls on my goofy list, man. Like him Antonio Brown, and they got a goddamn company together. You know, Antonio Brown is the executive director or the vice president of Donda Sports.
It's a meme, man. That reminds me of like Idiocracy. Hey, is that Cohen related to the Michael Cohen guy though? Because they both lawyers. Is the Robert Cohen?
It might be. It might be. Yeah, when I looked it up, it did say that his attorney was Jewish. I googled it. It said his attorney was Jewish. I don't know if you aren't Jewish, brother. Please don't come for me. All right, I don't want to be one of them Tasha K people. But Google said that you were. But
hey, I am not anti-Semitic. Don't take the little money that I have. I have nothing. Nothing.
Please don't come for my $36 YouTube check. I work hard putting this stuff out, bro.
Please don't take my little $100 a month Google Ads.
Yeah, man, don't do it, bro. Don't do it, man. But
this is all I got.
But yeah, he had Cohen is a Jewish name, man. I specifically Googled divorce lawyer because I was like, let me see, because you know when it comes to a divorce lawsuit is a lawsuit where you're gonna risk losing half of all of your shit. I don't care if you got a prenuptial or not. So I was like,
I searched that. Dang, Marcus, you couldn't have told me about that. Well, I'm not married yet, but I'm not worried about that, man. I ain't Kanye or Jeff Bezos. But my thing is, not for real. Hey, all them dudes might just, oh yeah, I can't do this. What's she gonna take, bro? Your 2005 Honda Accord? Like, what's she gonna? She probably take my MacBook. Like, come on now. My $2,000 camera. I ain't got nothing much to lose, man. But
and I'm sure they probably got a prenup. Yo, real talk. I'm gonna have one of my partners on who's a family law attorney to talk all of that prenup and stuff. And it's crazy with celebrities.
In Florida, they don't care about that prenup. I was like, dang, I need to call Marcus about this. I just thought it was interesting to talk. People, I was like, yeah, sign that prenup. The judge could be like, man, like this still.
It's all it is a contract. So any reason that a regular contract could be voided,
it could be voided as well.
So just think about it. Like this is a perfect example where you'll see a prenup that's probably voided, right? Let's say I'm a multimillionaire and I'm Drake, and you know Drake has an affinity for Instagram models. Drake meets an Instagram model who, for some reason, Drake's like Instagram models and strippers. It is what it is. But let's say Drake meets an Instagram model who is a stripper. He like, man, I decided to wife her up. He gets his attorneys to draft up this thick ass prenup packet. He gives her this thick ass prenup packet. He like, okay, sign this. You got 24 hours, 48 hours to review it, blah, blah, blah. She signs it. There's a good chance she could have that contract avoided for, they call undue influence. The party giving the contract was in a position of power where they used their undue influence to get someone who was in a lesser position of power to sign it. You didn't give her adequate time to find counsel. She didn't have the resources to retain an attorney. So there's a lot of reasons that those things can get done. Luckily for me, I think I was blessed because I was broke as fuck when I got married. So if I ever get a divorce, I'm gonna be like, damn, you rolled with a brother when I was broke as fuck. So go ahead, take it, man. I ain't even putting up a fight, dog. Like I would probably end up in a studio apartment. If I had a newborn, he would probably be in a dresser drawer because it never worked out well for the guys, man.
Nah. I've seen that, and I'm like, yeah, man. But that sounds like, man, I had trouble with Mario on this. Wow. I seen it one time. I just seen a comment. I was just, on Twitter because Twitter has some interesting stuff. That's some threads, and they're like, this dude was like, laugh my ass off. That prenup ain't do shit for me, my boy. Like, the judge disregarded all that shit. She took the house.
Yeah, man, it's a cold game, man. But I'm gonna have one of my partners on to do family law, and I specifically wanted a male attorney to talk about it since it seemed like guys tend to get jerked in court more. But we're gonna talk about it. We also gonna talk about that 50 Cent situation where my divorce was cool.
Man,
Wolverine and Dwayne Wade are the only two guys I know who got a divorce and it worked out well for them.
No, for real. Every job I've been at, my wife was a doop, and I've been ever since then, man. I'm like, dang, man.
No, I got friends who've been through divorces and they be like, man, you want to come over and watch the game? I'd be like, man, on that little ass TV. Fuck out of here.
It's a hard knock life.
Like,
Nah,
see,
for real,
Wolverine, D-Wade, y'all in different categories. Y'all divorces worked out to be amicable. But I'd be like, dog, like I'm comfortable, man. Like what?
All I hear is bad divorces, man. I remember when I was in high school, I had a friend. I'm not gonna tell you his background or whatever, but his name was Austin. I remember he was like, "Yeah, man, my dad and mom went through a divorce, and it was just rough and just ugly, man. And it was just a lot of stuff that I dealt with, and that led to me acting out and everything." I say all that to say, I'm like, dang, man, this is a divorce. Was some blood getting going out
Hey,
too?
yo, that shit affect everybody different though. Like, hey,
Yeah.
rest in peace to my brother. When my parents got divorced, I was kind of like, but that shit fucked my brother up. So like, I'm talking about as a grown ass man in therapy, that was something that was an issue for him. So I mean, that shit, yeah, it is. And then that's the other thing though. But you remember I put that question up where I talked about, again, before I die, I say this. Both of them are bad, and I don't wish either of these options on anybody. But remember, I put the question up about if you had to choose one.
Oh yeah, hey, no.
If you had to choose one, both are bad. If you had to choose one, would you rather your partner engage in infidelity or financial infidelity? And I was shocked. Like 70% of people was like, "Oh man, I don't know infidelity. I'd rather you mess up the money." And I was like, "That's crazy as hell."
It's emotion. But you almost had my point. I was like, man, somebody can have a baby on you, somebody have STD. But the last part, you were like, bro, people bounce out all the time. I was like, you're right. I know so many people that cheated and they bounce back. Like
most people in couples and healthy relationships had some infidelity that they do. And
that's crazy, man.
But I put it, that ain't crazy, man. How is that crazy, man? Like I tell you, put it this way. This is me and my mindset. All right. And I'm gonna do a separate video because I want some young ladies on where we can chop this up. But this is my mindset. As you acquire stuff, your priority change. When I was a young man in my 18 teenage years, guys, this is, and you know this, you're a guy, any guy who in the chat room, we value and covet women because as a guy and as a youngster, you don't know the availability of how many women are out there. So when you got a woman, you really covet her, you really hold on to her. You like a woman because like she could kind of play you a little bit because as a young man, you don't know, like, wait a minute.
You haven't really got it.
I haven't experienced things. So if you would have asked me that same question in my 20s when I didn't have the assets and didn't have as much as I have now, I would be like, no, you better not step out on me. It's going to be a problem. Now, asking me as a 40-year-old man, I'm like, hey, hey, I don't want my wife to go on her girl's vacation and have some random one-night stand with a stripper named Night Heat. But if she did, and this is how I put it in context. Infidelity or financial infidelity. A one night off, your significant other have a one night off, or your significant other does something behind your back and spend your entire emergency fund. Which one is harder to get over?
You can't get it. It's gonna be much harder to get that money back, man.
Man, that's gonna change you. You're gonna be eating ramen noodles and shit. That's gonna change your life. Again, both options are terrible. I don't wish any option on either people, but I thought it was interesting to see where people fell on that spectrum.
It's emotions versus the practicality. It was emotions versus. Once you ended that, I remember we had our comments and you come back. Once you said, I was like, man, he's right. I've seen so many. You're like, people cheat, man. People cheat. I'm not trying to say it's all right.
No, we're not saying it's all right. We're just saying that it's common. But I tell you one thing, hey, if this my wife has a year of unfaithfulness versus my wife has a year of a gambling problem, I don't want no fucking woman with no goddamn gambling problem. Like you bet on the fucking Browns. What's wrong with you? Like it'll go crazy quick, man. But the name of the game and of all this discussion is, you gotta protect your assets. You know what I mean? And protecting your assets is also a big part of that. Is you have to be cognizant of how you move. And so, one, shame on Kanye for not being cognizant of how to move, but also shame on him for not having the right team in place. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Wolverine, funny man. Hey, it is the same thing I mentioned to you when we had a conversation.
See, you talking about extra stuff that's bringing it in. Like if you don't come, and that's one of the key things with infidelity. I think if you come back and somebody got some physical issues going on, or I tell you right now, could you imagine every time you see this little kid, he look like the other dude? No, I already know that wouldn't work. So not adding extra things into it, but if we remove if it's just a straight up thing and there's no that was it. It was you lied about an infidelity or you lied about a financial infidelity. And people who may not have a lot of assets or have nothing, of course they're going to go with, I definitely don't want the infidelity to happen. You know why? Because they don't got no assets over here to lose. So in their mind, the most value goes on the physical thing, not the assets. But you became a millionaire if you, oh man, we just hit our emergency fund is $25,000 and your wife went behind your back. And the reason I thought of it, it was a question on Dave Ramsey, a caller called in, right? This is a finance topic. The caller called in and the lady said, I lied to my husband about our finances. And so you remember during the pandemic, they had some states had a mortgage moratorium where they didn't have to pay their mortgage, right? Well, the terms of this mortgage moratorium was you don't have to pay your mortgage for 12 months. Those 12 months is just going to get tacked on the back end of the loan, right? But once the payments restart, you have to pay 2 months in advance. So you don't pay anything for 12 months. On that 13 months when payment restart, you're going to send in 2 months worth of mortgage payments. And then those remaining 10 months are just added to the back end of the loan. So what this wife did was she went out, signed up for the mortgage moratorium behind her husband's back. So they're not required to make mortgage payment. Now she wasn't just stashing the mortgage money, saving it. She not only spent the mortgage money that was stashed up, but she also acquired like $20,000 in credit card debt. Now the year moratorium is up, and she didn't save any of that money. She spent all that money. She got $20,000 of credit card debt, and she don't even got the 2 months to pay to make sure the terms of the moratorium stay in effect. I was like, as soon as I heard that, I said, damn, couldn't you just go out and sleep with somebody? I would have rather you did that.
It's divorce, man. Remember that Usher song, that Papers? I'm about to sign them papers.
He said she was baller. But hey,
she was balling. 20,000. I tell you right now, if I hear that, I probably would have dropped right there, right then and there. I probably would have dropped right there. The stress would have been too much. The pressure is getting, you seen that TikTok? The pressure is getting stronger. So I would have dropped right there,
Can you imagine listening to Dave Ramsey and you recognize your wife's voice? You're going to be like, no, she didn't. But I looked it up. Statistically, it says something like 39% of people in marriages lie about money. Now the scale of the lies, it may be people lying about minor things. It may be people lying about big things, but 39%. Now he's living in a box with
his faithful wife. So I'm saying.
Yeah, man. So that was kind of how that question stemmed up. Man.
No, that makes perfect sense. I mean, granted, I'm 27. I have the most assets, but if I woke up one day and my card ran up 10,000, I'm probably like, God damn, man, you could have, man, could have got an Airbnb the other day.
Like $10,000 a one night of protected intercourse with a stranger.
I'll never get that back, man. I'm already trying to pay down some debt. Now I'm really done.
She's messing up your journey to financial freedom, man. You can't.
Dang, man. You can't get no pre-qualified orders. I ain't gonna get no good interest rate on the home. They might still give me an interest rate, but oh yeah, we got them. I ain't gonna get no new car.
Man. All that's out the window, man.
My job gonna be like, nah, we can't hire you. Conflict of interest. That credit is
your credit history bad, man. So So I think the name of the game is you always got to protect yourself, and shame on, I think we could close this out. But the other thing is like Kanye, we know you talking all this shit and making all these anti-Semitic statements, but you clearly love hiring Jewish people because you know that they could get the job done. Probably for your accountant,
And
your
it benefits
attorney
him.
is Jewish. Like you clearly got smart ass Jewish people on your
behind them.
staff.
Mm-hmm.
Like shame on you for having some. But I think the thing is though, because you like somebody like him. Sometimes people need a team of people around them to tell them how to say the things they want to say, but not say it in a way that's going to fuck up to, you know what I mean? You can say whatever you want. You could give me a statement right now of what you want to say, and I'll be able to carve that statement in a way so when you say it,
that's PR.
if somebody come back and challenge it, I'm like, oh no, the way we said it was this. So shame on him for not even having a team in place. But I think Kanye is one of those people where like I would hate to have Kanye as a client, Trump as a client, and Antonio Brown as a client. And it's not because I'm worried about they won't pay me, because 2 out of the 3 of them probably wouldn't pay me. But they don't strike me as people who listen to advice that's given.
That's what I'm saying. And after all this fallout, maybe I didn't think because he was gaining so much wealth and everything. Yeah, I know we're closing out, but before because he was gaining all this wealth and everything, I didn't realize. But Kanye is a good visionary, a good creative. I don't think he's a good businessman. It all comes full circle now.
Right,
yes, the Yeezys thing was a good idea, but it got bigger more off of his creativity than his name, than his actual business acumen.
Right.
And it's all coming to light now. Because no person that's really a business savant or whatever, really intelligent in that bracket. Look, you said that Kanye says a lot of crazy stuff. Jay-Z don't even say anything. You know what I'm saying?
Jay-Z too quiet.
Jay-Z don't even say anything. Like they don't even speak. You know what I'm saying? Right. And he speaks and he's messing it up. Like I don't think he has that. He's smart, and I'm really thinking. I was like, I don't know why it just crossed me now. It's probably because I'm like, hey, it's working. He's making this money. He's making this money. He's not a good businessman. He's a good creative. These things are going because it's Kanye. You know what I'm saying? It's not going because he's just such a savvy, like, oh, we do this, we're going to get this quarter. Because if he was, none of this would leave. Even if he really wanted to end these partnerships, I think there was much smarter ways to try to squeeze himself out of a deal than, you know what I'm saying? This is the problem where people have the difference between a great artist and a great business person. Some people are both. Some people are only one. And I think that's the moral right there. Obviously, if you want to talk about morally, I think he's really messed up ethically too. But I'm just talking off of his talents with the music and the art and the fashion, and then his actual business acumen. It's probably like a 3 out of 10. It's not really there. So
and I agree. I agree with that comment. Hey, like she said, not a business guy. He's a great artist, but he's not even if he's not a sharp business guy, he's not strategic. And by being strategic, that means having the ability to think. You know, a chess master, you're defined as a master because you can look 12 moves ahead. That's what being strategic is. I'm thinking 12 moves ahead. He's thinking, what's my next move that I can make right now in this particular instance? And then the other part too is, there are a lot of creatives who understand they don't have the business acumen.
And they get people.
That's it. A part of being intelligent is knowing where you aren't strong at. If I'm not a good business guy, I know I need to get a team of business people around me who I can trust, or business people around me who could break it down to the most layman, the most simplistic terms, so I can understand and get it. When I interact with clients, the way I present myself and explain things, it depends on who the fuck walked through the door. If I had a client come through the door and I was a criminal defense attorney and he had drug charges, dope charges, the way I explain stuff, I talk to him the same way I would talk to my homies on the block. You would think I was talking to my guy Wolverine.
That's code switching.
But that's the way they're going to explain it. If I'm like, hey, well, first of all, the first thing we have to do is look at the discovery. They're going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm saying like Waylon Smithers from the.
That switch up was crazy.
Yeah, they're not going to understand it. So the way I explain it to them is like, look, This is how I would always explain to clients who had drug charges the need to tell the truth. This is the exact story, because when I told this story, everybody would get it and they would tell me exactly what happened. Versus, and then I show you how I would do it if I'm had litigation with a pharmaceutical company. I would say, look, there's only 2 people in this entire world who you have to tell the truth to, and they just be sitting there like, word. I'm like, there's only 2 people in this world you have to tell the truth to. Isn't that your wife? Isn't that your girlfriend? Isn't that your mother? Isn't that your priest or your pastor? It's 2 people. It's your doctor and your attorney. You know why? They'd be like, why? I'd be like, because if you've been out here with a bunch of hoes and you got something, your doctor can't help you if he didn't know what you did. And that same way, I can't help you if I don't have all the facts. It's my job to go to war with you. It's my job to go to war with you. Now, it's up to you what weapon you give me to go to war. If you give me some bullshit that's not true, I'm going in with a water gun. If you give me all the facts, I got some artillery. I know what to expect. I know what questions to ask. I know what the answer is going to be before the question's asked. Versus if I'm in the room with a bunch of attorneys and there's a civil litigation for a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, the conversation is completely different. So you have to know the environment you're in. You have to be able to communicate. And if he's not a good business guy, he needs people on his team who can say, hey, I suck at business. I need people who can explain it to me and can handle it for me, who I can trust and can break it down to me at the lowest level. But but again, if you became a billionaire from doing it your own way, flying this way, you probably think that shit is right. He honestly, that's the one thing he probably really believes. He probably think the way he was doing it was fucking genius.
And he probably still is steadfast in that. It's the ego, man. I think his ego is his Achilles heel, his biggest Achilles heel, because his ego is drastically changed his character over the years. Forget the mental things or whatever trauma he may have went through. His ego is his Achilles heel because his ego is so overpowering that you seen that one video is like, you cannot give me any advice. Or even the recent thing with Piers Morgan, he was like, I don't, listen to people that aren't richer than me. You know what I'm saying? Like his ego is way too strong, man.
That dude's terrible, man. But hey, it is what it is. I'm gonna put I'm gonna say no. I'd be shocked if Kanye West eclipses the $2 billion mark to where he was at. I mean, maybe in 20 years, maybe, but who the hell want to listen from I think it's hard for a 60-year-old to be a fashion creative as a 60-year-old. You know what I mean? This dude 45. You might could do it, but like, I don't think he's going to age. I don't think Kanye's creativity in fashion, because fashion appears to be more lucrative than the music. I don't think his creativity in fashion is going to age like a Ralph Lauren or the folks over there at Balenciaga. I feel like Kanye's fashion trend, and he got some talent as it comes to fashion, but I think it caters to a younger audience. You know what I mean? So I'd be fucking shocked. I don't think he'll get back to the 2 billion mark. I hope he does, but I'd be shocked if he do, bro.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. I don't want to say something to eat my words. I'll say I think it's highly unlikely, but I'm not going to say it's impossible just because I've just seen so much crazy stuff. I don't know. I guess you're saying there's a chance. There's always a chance. Yeah. But I think it's highly unlikely, especially burning all those bridges and impacting the people he's impacted. You see what they've done so far.
Yeah, unless he get like some contract with some company that's clearly anti-Semitic. Did you see the Nazi guys on the bridge was like, we agree with Ye? I was like, this dude.
Oh my gosh. That's when you know you have problems, when you have them supporting you, man.
Yeah, I was like, man, this dude is the worst, man. But yo, I appreciate you coming on, brother, chopping it up about Yeezy, man. And hey, folks, let's be cognizant, let's be strategic. Sometimes what we say, sometimes we got to write a check, and you don't want to say something and write a check that your bank account can't cash, you know what I mean? So it is what it is. But I appreciate you coming on. Let everybody know where they can find you at on all your platforms, bro, before we get out.
Yeah, man, you already know, but I'm saying it like them rappers. You already know who this is. Y'all know who it is. No, we don't. But yeah, RFBM, Raising the Financial Bar with Mar. Yeah, check me out on there. Mark is going to add my link as well. But yeah, man, check it out. I have some content. I'm trying to speed it up now. Marcus, we're going to speak offline. I had so much drastic, crazy things been going on, man. So that's why I've been slowing it down, but I'm trying to ramp it up. Same thing. I like to talk about grants. I like to talk about credit cards, but yeah, just check my content out, and, it's just entertainment purposes. I'll say again, I am not a licensed financial professional.
Right. Definitely. Hey, as always, y'all already know, do y'all due diligence. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, Intellectual Savage family. Y'all take care. Be blessed.
Stay safe, y'all.